Welcome to Films in Black and White, everybody. Welcome to Films in Black and White, everybody. You are doing? It is a beautiful day. We are excited to be back here with you again, and for the first time in like 3 weeks. Trinity of podcast hosts at this point in time.
Yes, all three of us are here.
I used that terminology and I regretted it immediately. Gentlemen, it is a great day for us to podcast. This is the movie podcast where we just do it all, and we have a very exciting movie to get into. I hope everybody enjoys having all three of us, because I think after this movie, Brian may never come back again.
Oh, look here. I knew what I was getting into recommending In the Heights, and I like when the movie finished, I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna be like the only one.
Oh, Brian, we created such great memories in that movie theater while that movie was happening.
I need to know everything about that. By the way,
absolutely did.
Almost got kicked out of the movie theater.
But we need to do this right? Like I need to officially welcome these guys.
I mean, I guess we do.
Get into it. I gotta get my other co-hosts in here. And I'm gonna kick it on over to one Marcus J. Destin. Marcus, how you feeling?
I'm here. You know what I mean? Happy Pride Month, everybody. I feel like we ain't said that on the podcast. I want to say that. Happy Pride Month. You know what I mean? I love y'all. Y'all be safe. I love y'all for loving who you are and appreciating who you are inside and out. And I want to do the best I can as an ally to support you in that. So happy Pride Month. We are here. We are back. And I'm excited to podcast. Let's do it, y'all.
Awesome. Thank you, Marcus. You're right. We didn't say that, and I appreciate you holding us to that. So that was awesome. I'm going to introduce my other co-host, one Brian Roush. Brian Roush, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good to be here. I'm gonna lead off with that. I'm feeling good to be here. I'm glad we're at full strength again. It felt like the planets were out of alignment with the three of us not being on the same pod for like 2 weeks in a row. So I'm really happy to be here.
Well, that's fantastic. I'm glad we are a group of three again as well. Before I get
into how are you?
Doug, come on.
Fine. I'm doing great. It's a great day. I just spent some time in a pool with my kids for swim lessons, so there's that.
That sounds nice.
And you know what? I also just want to do this real fast. Hey, a special shout out to all our friends in Canada, because I don't know if the two of you realize this, but we are getting some Canadian traction. Maybe it's because Brian's from Minnesota and Mark and I live in South Dakota. I don't know if it's the proximity or what it is, but I'm just really excited. Shout out to our Canadian friends.
Shout out to the Canadian family.
And those
we love you, Canadians. We love you so much.
We want to do a podcast up there with all of you in Canada. Podcast in Canada. Live from Canada.
Yeah, absolutely. But gentlemen, let's get back to what we do best, and let's play a fun game of Catch That Quotable. So for those of you who need to know what this is about, this is the weekly segment where we test each other on our knowledge, or maybe better, our lack of knowledge of different movie quotes and movie trivia. And so we are going to play that game as a threesome. And since Marcus was gone last week, I would love it if Marcus would start us off with his quote. So Marcus, what do you got?
All right, here we go. Are we going to put up the score? I want people to see
that score up there.
We got to get that score.
So I am in dead last with 7. Marcus is 1 ahead of me with 8, and one Brian Roush still leads the charge with 10. So Brian, we are within striking distance.
It's there.
So that's where we at. So
double-digit Roush.
That's right, double-digit Roush. So
all right, here we go.
Marcus, what do you got for your quote?
I can't believe I ate meat for him. I mean, it was fish, but still, I don't eat anything with a face.
Oh, shit.
One more time. I can't believe I ate meat for him. I mean, it was fish, but still, I don't eat anything with a face.
Oh, my God. This is a rom-com, and I feel like I know it, Brian. It's gonna bug me that I don't know it. It's the line
It's
about
gonna
a
be
face.
upsetting.
It's the line about a face. Eat anything with a face. Oh, Jesus. I think I might know it. I need him to confirm this for me, but
Yeah,
I think
I'm
I
gonna
might know
need
it.
that hint.
Okay.
Marcus, we're gonna tap that hint button.
Yeah.
Okay. Your hint is going to be thong.
Thong?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh.
I'm gonna give you my guess.
All right.
Okay.
Marcus, is this Clueless?
It is not Clueless.
Is this? Oh man,
That's what I thought it was.
Great
it's
guess.
between two for me right now, and
Okay,
I'm
okay.
gonna kick
Oh
myself.
man, I'm so pissed.
Is this American Pie?
It is not American Pie.
Is it Can't
I'd
Hardly
like-
Wait?
It is not Can't Hardly
Oh,
Wait.
What is it?
This, gentlemen, is the classic rom-com John Tucker Must Die.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Have y'all seen that one?
No, I have
Yes,
not
that
seen
is-
that
You
one.
haven't seen John Tucker
That
Must
is-
Die is pretty good.
It's
Okay.
good. That is a solid. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah,
Oh man,
yeah,
I saw
yeah.
that in
Good
theaters
quote.
too.
I saw that in theaters too, Brian. And I
Ah.
said thong because there's a scene where John Tucker, he gets caught cheating, and he, like, in order to get out of it, he starts wearing the girl's thong, or he gets set up somehow like that, wears the
Yes.
thong,
Okay.
and then
That's
makes it like a cool
right.
thing to wear thongs because that's how cool he is on fucking campus.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It's like a Regina George moment when
Mhm.
when
Got
there's
it.
holes in her sweater. Yeah,
Yeah,
I totally know what you're talking about.
Yep.
Well, good quote, Marcus. That was
Thank you.
that was,
That
a great
was
little deep
good.
dive there. I'm really impressed with you. So, Brian,
Hello.
would you care to kick us off with your quote, sir?
Yeah, Brian.
I
Double digit
would.
Roush.
Here we go, gentlemen. We're going home now, and never, ever, under any circumstances known to God, speak about this again. Is that clear? It is now merely a future therapy bill. Agreed?
Oh, fuck.
One more time for everybody playing. We're going home now, and never, ever, under any circumstances known to God, speak about this again. Is that clear? It is now merely a future therapy bill. Agreed?
Okay.
Oh,
It's a
man.
family movie.
Oh, I don't know if it is a family movie.
Like a R-rated family movie.
Oh,
or like
yeah. Oh,
family
okay. I
trip
thought you meant
movie?
like it was like Trolls. I'm like, no, this
Oh,
is
no,
this is this isn't a family movie like Trolls.
No. No. The
You're
first thing
right,
that
though. You're right. It's one of those. I think I have an inkling of what this might be, but I
Yeah.
also I was wrong with the first time, so I trust nothing now.
Mm.
So
I have a guess, but I don't think it's a good guess. Because every family movie in the world
Yes.
is coming to my mind right now.
yes, absolutely.
Brian, what's the hint?
The hint is going to be summer.
I'm gonna take a guess, but I think it's wrong.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna say RV with Robin Williams.
It is not RV with Robin Williams.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
Brian, I'm gonna take a guess.
Okay.
Brian, is this Without a Paddle?
It is
Ooh.
not. This
Great
is
movie.
the classic film I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Oh,
my
really?
God.
That
Jennifer
line
Love
is in that
Hewitt, Sarah
movie?
Michelle Gellar, Ryan Phillippe, Freddie
Jesus.
Prinze Jr.
Wow.
That was like a mid '90s powerhouse movie.
Yeah,
Freddie
they made a
Prinze Jr.
sequel. They
And
made
made
a
a sequel with Brandy at the lead of it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No,
Good
this thing
quote,
had
Brian.
legs.
Wow, good quote.
You know, look, just I was really feeling the summer heat, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. I know what you did last summer.
That's
All
good.
right.
That's good,
Well.
Brian. Great movie.
All
So
right.
there we
Doug
go.
Wagner,
All right.
take
Y'all
us
ready?
home.
Okay. Evolution. I want to make this thing bleed. Su Yin, what you said before, you were right. It's not about the people you lose. It's about the people you save. Signing off.
That
I
was
know
the
that-
most
I know the
randomest shit
name.
ever.
Should help me.
I didn't think it would. That's why I included it.
Like I know it should.
Okay,
I
I'm
feel
gonna
like
read,
okay, yeah, read it again.
I'll read it again. Evolution. I want to make this thing bleed. Su Yin, what you said before, you were right. It's not about the people you lose. It's about the people you save. Signing off.
I feel like this is a sarcastic line. Saying Su Yin is not really the real name. It's more one of those like, that's not my name.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm getting like weird 2000 Godzilla vibes from this. Like I
Yeah.
feel like it would be a similar line is said in Predator. Like if it bleeds, we can kill it. But
true.
Though also him starting off with the word evolution
yeah,
also makes me think of a movie that I think the name is called Evolution, but I'm not really sure.
yeah, that's where I went to.
Yeah, that's what I was
Orlando
thinking.
Jones. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
it's not gonna help us
yeah.
here. But
No. What's the hint, Doug?
Yeah, Doug. What
The
is
hint is ocean.
Oh, I'm gonna buzz in.
Okay.
Oh, shit.
Deep Blue Sea with LL Cool J.
This is not Deep Blue Sea.
No way!
Oh,
It's
wow.
not Deep Blue Sea.
Oh wow!
Oh,
It
fuck.
is
I
not
feel like
Deep
I need
Blue
to
Sea.
guess something in that same vicinity.
Oh my gosh, I was so confident.
You said Oceans. I think Oceans 11, 12, 13, all those, that whole series. But Brian said Deep Blue, and I feel like it could be a surfing movie.
Okay.
Su
Yeah.
Yin.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to say Oceans 11, just for shits and giggles.
Marcus, this is not Ocean's 11. Brian was closer than you are.
God damn it. I
Gentlemen,
knew he was close.
this is the movie The Meg,
Oh my
starring
God.
Jason Statham
that's
that
a
came out in
newer movie.
2018.
My wife is gonna kill me. She loves shark movies. She would have got this on first try.
Brian, you were so close
were
with
close,
Deep
Brian.
Blue Sea. I was like, ooh, that's close. We'll see what
Oh,
Marcus
Su
does
Yin
with
is
it.
the name of the daughter, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. Okay,
Man.
that's right. Then
I
you did a
see-
newer movie
oh.
that threw me off.
yeah.
Okay.
I
knew
see that
was it.
trailer in my mind.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh my gosh.
Aren't they
Yeah,
making
not the
this
movie,
stuff?
by the way,
Aren't
just
they
the
doing
trailer.
Okay, Jason Statham's gonna be a pissed off, bald headed man coming in.
right.
Jason Statham's
Jason
coming for you.
Statham, if you're listening and you want to come defend this movie on your honor, we would love to have you. And you
We
can,
absolutely
you know,
You and Tom Cruise, both of y'all can yell at us. You and a
Yeah,
British
please.
one and
Tom
Tom and
Cruise, I
yell
have
at
the
us.
utmost respect for you. It's
no,
just
it's too late.
Scientology's
As we were watching the movie In the Heights, the trailer comes on for Top Gun, the new Top Gun movie. And bro, all I hear Doug say is, "Look, there goes my guy right there, Tom Cruise." I'm saying, yeah, right. Yeah, right. Of all people, you are not his guy.
Yes, no, he's not my guy. I'm not his
No.
guy. We have a mutual understanding.
No.
Gentlemen, that was Catch That Quotable. Thankfully, the leaderboard is unadjusted.
Wow.
And we continue to strike out. So there you have it, Brian. You
Can I
hold
get a
on to your
shark
lead
point?
again.
Like, can I get a shark point for being close on a shark movie?
You don't give out half points or
No,
points
I'm not
for
asking for a
close,
half
Brian.
point, just like a shark point. Like Brian has 10 and a shark point. Like, I feel
What's
like
the
that's
what's the exchange rate of shark points to
Is it
regular
like
points?
whose line
the
is it anyway? Doesn't mean anything. Just
it's
just
the
there.
same
I mean, they are made
conversion
up.
rate for Schrute bucks to Stanley Nichols.
Ah, got it.
Right.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, that was Catch That Quotable, but we have some news to get into.
Oh, man.
Just our quick round the table, quick one piece of news that we have coming. And Brian, I would love it if you would share your piece of news first. So what do you have this week, sir?
Is it the freaky news?
Yeah, that's the news I want it to be.
I'll
I
say
want
it.
to be that.
I hope it's the freaky news. Let me place it.
You mean the Batman freaking news?
Yeah, the Batman, Batwoman freaky news.
Yes, I'll talk about this.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I get this right though, so I'm pulling up the article. I wasn't planning on talking about it, but we're gonna do
I'm
this.
so glad you are, Brian.
Oh man, here we are. Thank you for listening, folks. All of your Batman news. So today, there was some Batman news that made the rounds, and essentially an article from Variety came out detailing everything related to how to subvert the superhero genre. And it's this very lengthy piece. I actually recommend you go read it. But there's a part in there where the Justin Halpern, who is a co-creator for Harley Quinn, is talking about how they were making the third season. This is a quote, so I'll start with that. And he says, in this third season of Harley Quinn, we had a moment where Batman was going down on Catwoman, and DC was like, you can't do that. You absolutely cannot do that. They're like, heroes don't do that. End quote. And this has been like it has been all over social media, I'd say, for the past 6 hours. There's been a lot of comparisons. They go on to talk about this Variety piece of hey, the DC's been very supportive, but we were told a hard no on this show. And one of the reasons they gave, and I'm paraphrasing here, was because DC felt it would affect the sales of merchandise.
Huh? Listen, DC, let me tell you, superheroes eat the box. They do that. How do you think they feel for their next night out? They gonna eat that. They gonna eat that kitty cat. No pun intended. They gotta eat that. They have to eat that, because how else am I supposed to? You think Superman is being Superman just off the strength of being Superman? No, he saves Lois every single time, because that thing be thanging, okay? And he eats that box and Superman goes downtown, okay? he crashes like his ship crashed in the earth right into that box. Okay, and I just want to say
this damn live stream. That's
like it is. Yeah, it's a lot. It's
okay.
a lot.
Here's what I'm gonna say.
First, well, hold on, wait. Here's the other thing. Nobody else knows more about a box than the person who beats the Riddler every other fucking week. So if anybody's gonna know how to maneuver that box, it's gonna be Batman. Batman knows how to maneuver that kitty cat box.
Look,
Brian is gonna he's calling all of his supervisors and colleagues those opinions do not represent me. Here's what I'm gonna say. One, weird for Warner Brothers to draw a line in the sand like this.
Yeah.
Because and this is what I think is weird. And it's my feeling of weirdness is gonna feel backwards. So they are openly okay with having Harley Quinn have being in a relationship with Poison Ivy.
Right.
That's totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
Thumbs up.
But this is not.
Thumbs down.
Is it the explicit? Is it the explicative of it being specifically him going down on her, or is it the idea of no sex at all would ruin merchandise?
These are cartoon characters.
Well, okay.
Cartoon.
Here's the thing, though. In Batman: The Killing Joke,
he definitely
there takes a right turn in that movie where
about it.
Batman and Batgirl have a romance scene.
Oh yeah, they most certainly do.
And that's weird to me.
On the rooftop.
Yeah, it's on a rooftop. It feels like it comes out of nowhere. I mean, it's fine, but it's really weird to me that it's like, no. We can't have this specific thing happen because the quote is, I found the quote. No, it's that we sell consumer toys for heroes. It's hard to sell a toy if Batman does that. And I just I don't know what's happening at WB and DC. I don't know if they're okay. I hope you're okay over there. I just it blows my mind that this is where they draw the line when they have almost all of their media. It's Batman punching a dude in the face. I don't know how many times I've seen a guy or a villain get their face punched in and it's bloody and roughed up. But the moment there's romance involved, it's whoa, pump the brakes. Stop. Everybody stop.
This man has a villain who is literally a gigantic crocodile that bites people's heads off.
Yeah.
And yet
making
sure his lady gets treated fairly too is a step too far.
I feel like DC, you should hire me because here's what I'm thinking, right? Here's I'm gonna pitch it for you, right? You're worried about not selling merchandise and toys, but this is a whole new set of toys that we're about to get into. We're gonna take into a whole new set of toys, a bat vibrator.
Oh, that
Catwoman. Brian.
I know where you were going, man.
A whip. Catwoman carries a whip. BDSM supporters. Okay. You see what I'm saying?
We are not here to kink shame.
We're not here to kink shame.
Yeah, this writes itself, really.
Batman wants to go down on Catwoman after a sweaty day in leather. Let him do his thing.
You could make a big one that's called the Dark Knight. That's it. That's all you got to do. All this stuff writes itself.
Oh wow!
All right, everybody, say goodbye to Brian.
No, that was it. That's the end of it.
This is pushing my comfort zone. I'm not gonna lie, but I will say that I also feel on a larger scale of things, having a woman be hey, good for her. That doesn't exist in DC, and for some reason they think that messes with Batman's image, and I just think that's really weird, and I think it's really sad because it's you're totally cool. Even a video game, by the way, where he's breaking people's backs, you're totally cool with that, probably paralyzing these people, but an ounce of romance is mentioned. It's whoa, everybody stop. It's just that's what's always bizarre to me about these decisions is violence, okay. Oh, romance? Absolutely not. It's mind blowing.
I don't think I would have as much of an issue with it if they were just hey guys, I get that this show's designed to push the envelope and it definitely takes some liberties because I don't know if either one of you have watched Harley Quinn.
It's on my list.
It's violent. Like it's not.
Oh yeah.
It's not light. I mean, Harley cusses people's. I mean, it's just it's excessive, and it's clear that it's pushing a line.
Right.
So where I go at is like, okay, so you have an issue with it because there's the line, right?
Mhm.
You can say like, hey guys, we're gonna give you a blank check. Do whatever you want. If you want to insinuate that it happened, that's fine.
Right.
But you just can't step over this line. I get that. The toy thing feels like bullshit. Like it just feels like artificial lip service to say, you know, it just feels like bullshit, and it's an entirely wrong. It just feels weird. And again, it goes back to that whole thing of like, it's male superhero nonsense versus female superhero imagery nonsense. Like to insinuate that Catwoman has needs that need to be like fulfilled as well. Like, and again, I'm trying to be as like above board about it because we already talked about working the box. So that I'm trying to reel us back in here,
like UPS.
Like, God damn it. Okay. Anyway. Oh no. Okay, so Brian, be careful. What I'm saying is like to insinuate that like, oh, she doesn't have needs and we can't talk about those, especially in a show that's about women empowerment. Like I don't get it. It feels like a really weird, it feels very tone deaf, but then again, it's also WB and DC, so
it's
surprised here.
My other thing is, before we move on, is this show is meant for adults.
Yeah, right.
So
it's
like
TVMA. This is not for
so
kids.
we already have that understanding that who's going to be buying. If I see that as the adult, everybody shouldn't be watching this, and then it's up to the household to determine what your child is watching. That's one. If I'm watching this, I don't think my first thought is, oh, I can't go buy that toy. You know what I mean? Like that's not what I'm thinking about. Like if I'm going to think that it's funny, because they're clearly not going to show us him going down on Catwoman. It'll be in a comedic way. It'll be in some type of funny way that it'll be shown. But I don't understand how they make that correlation. So like that's a little bit confusing. But once again, it's WB and DC, and these two, all these letters can't get that shit together.
No, not at all.
Yeah. It's just wild, just weird and wild, and it dominated my Twitter feed. I don't know what that says about me, but like it was like every tweet, and I was like, what did I miss?
Probably says that you hang out with us too much. Is probably what it says.
Or your algorithms are wild.
And the last thing I'm going to say before we move on is the toy sales thing. It's not like, isn't that kind of up to you then too? Like if you're going to be the dumbass that lets this happen in the show and then sells a Batman action figure with a detachable tongue that's extra long, like ain't that kind of on you? Like I feel like you have control over this, right?
Also, I'll add to that. If at the beginning of this agreement for this TV show that they said, no, push the limits, and they told you go ahead and do your thing, which is I'm assuming how that conversation, because it's not a typical TV show.
Right.
Then you can't be like upset or surprised on WB's part of them being like, we want to do this.
Yeah.
You told me push the limit. Obviously, you're going to tell me where the limit is, but the reasoning for not letting me do that doesn't make as much sense as opposed to like doing it, I guess.
No.
Well, this is the second time this has happened, by the way. Young Justice got canceled because they said toy sales were good enough like 10 years ago, and that's been brought back like 2 or 3 times, and I don't think it was because of toy sales. Like it's bonkers. I don't know how they make
buying toys. Who's buying toys? Every time I go to a toy section, that shit is bare as hell. Ain't nobody buying toys. Don't nobody play with toys no more.
I mean, I don't get it. I don't get the merchandising end of it. And if someone, by the way, if someone's listening to us and is like yelling at their headphones or in their car, like please reach out to us on social media. Let us know, or come on the show, because we don't get it.
But don't come on the show yelling, because we yell back.
That's true, we do. We don't like to be backed into a corner.
Anyway, that was my news. I know, very, very different for me.
Yeah, I'm very excited Brian did that. Nothing made me more excited. If anything, because we almost came this close to a spit take. The day the spit take's canceled, the day the spit take happens, Brian, is the day that this podcast is done. We have nothing left.
That's a lot of pressure now.
All right, Marcus, what do you got for your first piece of news?
All right, so there was a lot of news today that dropped about, well, it's a plethora of news. I'm not sure what Doug is going to cover, but I'll do 2 things. They had a teaser drop for Spider-Man. This one isn't really long. They had a teaser drop for Spider-Man, a quick little video, but it was in the Spanish version, so it was released I don't know where. I don't have it right in front of me, but they quickly removed it. But it had this little glitch effect that is kind of hinting towards multiverse, where it had one Spider-Man font, and then it shifted and glitched into something else, kind of insinuating, maybe there's something there with a glitch in the program or a glitch where people can't get home. So that's just something fun they kind of remove, but when people screen record, it's kind of on the internet forever. So I'm pretty sure you can find that wherever you go.
Yeah.
The second one was there's a lot of the Flash feature film is actually picking up speed and picking up momentum. So the director had already put out a picture, a little teaser photo of Michael Keaton's old Batman symbol with a little blot of blood on it. And he did that last week. Today, he released actually a little close-up, the same kind of close-up shot of the Flash's costume. And it's a new costume with a brand new emblem in the middle of it. And it's, he's kind of hinting that it's on the way. But we also got news today, for those of you that keep up with the CW Arrowverse, which is probably dead by now, because the Flash was breakdancing in last week's episode, and I don't know what's going on. But if you still keep up with the Arrowverse, at some point during their crossover, Ezra Miller crossed over with Grant Gustin in that episode. It was announced today that the surprise cameo in the Flash movie is going to be Grant Gustin appearing in the Ezra Miller version of the Flash. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. So they're sticking with that connecting universe. Whether the Flash makes it, I think season 8 is the last season of the Flash on TV. But I think it'll be good just to see all of these together at the same time. It's about time. Somebody's got to put the Flash show out of its misery.
Candace Patton and Grant Gustin can keep making the same faces at each other for another year, and I think people. Oh, you're right. It is the final season. I will say that. Yes.
Oh, it is the
Flash
final
season 8 to be the show's final season, according to smallscreen.co.uk.
Yeah, it's about time. I saw the Flash fucking breakdance, and I was like, well, that's it. This was fun.
Well, I mean, and Brian and I talked a little bit about it last week when we were doing our news episode, Marcus, of just like Loki and just like Multiverse of Madness with Doctor Strange has the ability to completely redo and reset, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yeah. Brian made a really good point, sort of because you weren't there. He sort of poured one out for you of this idea of this movie, the Flash movie, Flashpoint, has the ability to do that for the DCU too as well. So it's possible that, this is a big deal. And I'm really excited that they are committed to that multiverse and kind of going that route with it. So we will see how that shakes out. All righty. Well, that's awesome. Love it. Here is what I have. I am getting my news from Collider, and it is regarding the Lord of the Rings. So it was announced about a week ago that the Lord of the Rings will get its first anime film with the War of the Rohirrim, and it'll cover sort of the adaptation about how Helm's Deep come to be. And this is really cool because one, it's animation, it's a different take on it, and it adds to even more of that content that we're getting from Lord of the Rings style stuff, because we are still on track to get a very expensive Amazon show about the Lord of the Rings, and it'll kind of add some more to the canon maybe, or explore some of those unknown sort of like parts of this. So for those of you that don't know, in the Two Towers, they are talking, they're about trying to think about what they're going to do since Westeros not Westeros, sorry, since Rohan is getting destroyed is getting destroyed by the Orc army, and the White Hand of Sauron is basically destroying everything. They're like, well, where are we going to go? And they're looking at a map, and they kind of zoom in on Helm's Deep, and then Sauron's like, you don't want to go there. You know what happened there, but we never ever find out what that means. And so what's kind of cool is that this will give us some of that backstory that we know Tolkien was really like detail oriented and in depth about. And we'll get some of that backstory to how that happened with this, which will be kind of exciting. So, gentlemen, thoughts?
I don't keep up with Lord of the Rings like that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Lord of the Rings was like my first nerdy love. Man. So I keep up with that one for sure.
I know enough people to like know enough about Lord of the Rings to be dangerous, but it is not like Star Wars. I don't know it inside and out. What I do know though is I feel like this is a good I feel like this is a good blend of two, like it's going to be an anime prequel. I think this is the perfect spot for Lord of the Rings because it's all like you're there for the combat. You come for the combat and then you stay for like, like this bow is infused with the golden mithril of the elves, and the elves have talked to the ents of the trees of the forest, and like you get caught up. It's like I don't know. It's like when you get stuck in like I was gonna say molasses. That never happened, but like when you get stuck in mud, you're like, well, I'm here. Okay, but I'm kind of stuck now, but I want to get there, so I'll go through them. That's fine.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is a good blending of like you want all that combat and it's fast paced.
Yeah.
Here you go. And by the way, you get to learn a little bit more about Helm's Deep, which I would say, I don't know, man. It's between Helm's Deep and Two Towers and like the Battle of Minas Tirith in Return of the King. I want to say Helm's Deep is the more iconic battle of the Lord of the Rings trilogy in the books and the movies, but I'm sure there are a ton of people that would disagree with me.
Yeah.
Does this tie into the one that they're spending about $1 billion on Amazon, Lord of the Rings?
I don't believe that it is. I believe that one is going to be sort of exploring some things that are in between The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, to be honest with you, because they don't just sort of like pick up and then like one doesn't pick up right where the other one stops. I think there is some gap years wise in between. So I think that this is going to kind of explore the years in between maybe a little bit. But again, I don't know a whole lot about that Amazon show. This is the only piece other than the price tag, which is what we covered on a previous episode regarding how much people are spending for streaming stuff. So, well, that was good news, everybody. That was great news. Glad we all got into it. Gentlemen, we have a movie that we have to get to. And this particular movie was suggested by Brian. Brian is a big fan of musicals.
I like musicals.
And so we saw the movie In the Heights, which is available in theater as well as on HBO Max. Marcus, would you care to give us a barbershop summary for this particular movie?
Oh, man.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so singing.
Is that it? You just walk into the barbershop singing.
So you have this movie, right? If you're a fan of Hamilton and High School Musical and The Wiz and about any other famous musical ever, whatever, Lin Miranda, that guy, you know, I'm downplaying it, but he's really good at this job. But so you have this community, right? And this is the Heights, somewhere in New York City. I've never been to New York, so I'm gonna preface that with this. I don't know anything about the boroughs and the shits and the cities and stuff, but this one is in the community called it's the Heights, right? And it takes place in the Heights. Ta-da! So then you got this main character. His name is Usnavi. His dad named him after seeing the first ship. It was a ship called the U.S. Navy, and when they came over from Puerto Rico. When they came over from Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. When they came over from the Dominican Republic, his dad saw the ship called the U.S. Navy, and he said, "I'm going to name my son Usnavi." So this story surrounds Usnavi running this bodega, the street corner store, along with his cousin Sonny, and they did this whole thing. You know what I mean, they running this store, they saving up their dollars and pennies because Usnavi is trying to get back to the Dominican Republic to run his dad's suete. Oh, I don't know Spanish, so I probably messed that up, but it's his little dream is what the name of the thing was. Okay, cool. So they go and he's trying to, he get the stuff, he gets approved to do that, and he wants to go immediately to the Dominican Republic to redo his daddy's store. During this time, everybody's singing. Everybody is singing their asses off about living in the city.
Yep.
They're trying to find their dream. Everybody got a song about their dream. Everybody's hitting high notes. Everybody dancing in the street. There's 3 days till a blackout. Abuela is fighting life and death, and is apparently the most a powerful being in the Heights because she made the decision of whether she was going to die or not. She had the choice of dying or living, and she whatever. But so then we go through there. There's this lottery ticket scene that is forgotten about, but the entire movie I'm asking them, but what about the lottery ticket? And then so there's this. They're just singing their ass off about the city. Everybody's got a dream. It's about gentrification. It's about losing your, not losing your culture in the midst of losing your city to gentrification and making the hard decisions and moving on in life and young generation versus the old generation. It's a lot in the one, but it's singing. They just sing everything. They sing when they. I'll save that for later. I'll save that for later. They
Shocker! It's a musical.
It's a musical. They sing. They sing when they're happy. They sing when they're horny. They sing when they just sing. Everybody just sing. I wanna pop this champagne bottle. I wanna do it on your nasty umbrella floor.
Brian's quitting right now.
No, it sounds like we're gonna have a good podcast here.
And so that's pretty much it. That's all I got.
Well, Marcus, I would like to say that was that was great. I appreciated the summary. And again, and I say this every week, you didn't get into the weeds with it, and that's what counts, is that you didn't get into the weeds with
real bird's eye view type stuff.
Yeah, and that's what we need. I'm gonna fill in some gaps on the business side as well as the who's in this side. So this movie has a list of people minus a couple of folks in here and there, one of which I will get to later. But this cast has some folks in it that maybe we don't necessarily, some people that we are familiar with as well as some people who we are not familiar with. Mm-hmm. So Anthony Ramos plays Usnavi, Melissa Barrera plays Vanessa, Leslie Grace plays Nina Rosario, Corey Hawkins plays Benny, Olga Merediz plays Abuela Claudia. Jimmy Smits from just all over anything plays
Star
Kevin
Wars,
Rosario.
Anarchy. Go ahead.
Yeah, everything, top to bottom. He's in Kevin Rosario. Gregory Diaz the fourth plays Sonny. And then we start to get into some other folks here and there as we start to go down. Lin-Manuel Miranda is in this, as well as Mark Anthony. All
right, so let me tell y'all the story.
Okay. He's definitely in this. You know who's
what
not
is
in
this story? So I have to clue in the audience. Let me put them on the lake. We're texting this morning, and Doug's like, "Well, we almost got kicked out of the theater," and I'm like, "Excuse me, what?" And Mark is like, "Yeah, we almost did," and then they just left it. So you were hearing this 5 minutes after you've heard that there was a story. I've been waiting all day for this, so please take it away, gentlemen.
Okay, here's what happened. Who's gonna tell it? I think let me tell it.
Why do I feel like I'm the parent and you're telling me why you got in trouble? This is the vibe I had of tell me what happened.
We did get in trouble. Just this maybe showed that maybe Doug has some growth.
Here's what's funny. I feel like this is one of those situations that may not be funny to anybody else, but in the situation and in the moment, most hilarious thing I think I've ever experienced with Doug. So we're sitting in the movie, right? And they have the scene where Usnavi goes to visit Sonny's dad, right? At his house.
Yeah.
He goes to visit Sonny's dad. And of course, the movie's making it dramatic to do this slow reveal as to who Sonny's father is.
Yeah.
So they're doing this slow reveal. Okay. And as they're doing the slow reveal, I kind of get this slow peep, right? I lean over to Doug and I say, Doug, do you know who that is?
No, you said, who I think it is?
I said, Doug, is that who I think it is? Doug leans over to me and in the most confident voice says, you bet your ass I do. As he goes up, the camera reveals the person. He says, Antonio Banderas.
You thought it was Antonio Banderas?
I fucked this up so bad.
Man.
And then I tried.
Mark Anthony was Antonio Banderas. And he says, oh, fuck. We spend the next 10 minutes laughing in the fucking theater.
And of course, it's the theater, and it's not a funny moment because Mark Anthony is an
points in the movie.
He's an alcoholic, and I'm over here crying, silently shaking to myself.
That was the funniest thing.
My God. And then this theater was full, so we're like, some motherfucker's gonna come down here and tell us that we need to be quiet.
We gotta go. Here's the thing. We didn't stop laughing. We went and stopped laughing. And then it's 3 minutes later into the movie, we started laughing again for a whole nother 5 minutes.
And this is the one part of the movie where there isn't music. These people sing everything, and this is straight dialogue. And I'm sitting here crying, going, please let there be a musical number. Please let there be a musical number. And there is no musical number coming to save me.
Nope.
So why? Can I just ask why Antonio Banderas?
Yes,
the funny moment where you I got it.
The funny thing is, Brian, There's a small part of me that knew that it was Mark Anthony, but there was another part of me that thought it was Enrique Iglesias, but I couldn't remember Enrique Iglesias' name. And the only Hispanic person that I know who's in movies was fucking Antonio Banderas. So I went, who's the one person? And my brain says, say it's Antonio. The other part of me, my brain was like, but that's wrong. Say it anyway. Like
the whole time I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I can't let my white friend go down like this because I know he has genuine intentions and I know he did not mean it, but he named 3 Hispanic people that are not the same person, and you thought they were all 3.
I mean, again, I knew who it was, and that's where we shook out, and so that's the story of how I almost pissed myself and then got kicked out of a movie theater.
Wow, it's important to grow, and that's good.
It's important to grow.
Hey, I get it. I'm sure Antonio Banderas would have loved to have been in this movie.
The funny thing is, like,
I didn't know it was Mark Anthony. I had no clue.
I came back and I told Brittany the story. She goes, Doug, Antonio Banderas doesn't even sing. What's wrong with you? And I was like, you're right. He doesn't. I don't know why I thought it was him.
Mark Anthony didn't sing in this. So.
Well, he had a song. Well, he had a song on the soundtrack
as the credits rolled.
As the credits roll. So it was like, if we're getting into it, here's one of my things I like about this movie. And I think it'll be a pro and a con because I'm not familiar with the culture. But one of the pros was going into this, they did not hold back on injecting their culture into this movie.
Oh, no,
so there are scenes with Spanish with no captions. They're just speaking in Spanish, and I'm just like, wait, what does that mean? And it's kind of like you got to keep up, or you either get it or you don't. And I think I like that, not having to over explain everything, and just allowing people like that Mark Anthony reveal. I felt like that was special to people who know Mark Anthony or people who are familiar with the story or the culture. Right. And for me, it was like, oh, that I know of Mark Anthony because of J-Lo and because of like their marriage and that whole thing. That was literally my base information with Mark Anthony.
There you go.
I like this movie because they did not really. They didn't take the time to really over explain things to you. It was like, this is us, this is our culture. And this is what it is.
Yes. No, I completely agree. I completely agree with that. That there are subtle nods that are only people, like you said, who are familiar, who will truly understand it. And I think that that's fantastic filmmaking and fantastic directing, and I think it's a credit to the writing, especially that it was written that way. And this was Lin-Manuel Miranda's like love letter to the Heights, because he spent a lot of his time writing his musicals, and I think he still calls Washington Heights his home. I think he still lives there. So this was his love letter to the culture that he grew up with, and so I really appreciate it, and it shows. So I completely agree.
Yes. No, I mean this entire movie is just one giant love letter to this area of New York. And what's funny about this is like I love this movie. I'm just gonna come out and say it. Also, we're gonna get into spoilers about this. You know this if you listen regularly. We're gonna dive into every single part of this movie. But and I feel like a lot of times New York is just oversaturated, right? Like I feel like if you live outside the United States, it's like the United States is literally New York and California. That's it. Those are the only two states. Yeah. There's some stuff in the middle, maybe.
Well, in Chicago every now and again.
I mean, Chicago, if you need to change a pace, right?
Washington, D.C., but that's not a state.
Well, yeah. D.C. if you have government. And what was weird is that he made this love letter to New York that just didn't feel saturated or overdone or like touristy. We've seen this before. It really felt genuine, and it felt like I was there and I was really hot and I needed to go to the pool. And I think it was such a well-made film, and I don't feel like we get a lot of musical films, and I feel like it captured this essence and these vibes just perfectly. And I loved it. I loved it so much.
I agree, and I think the other thing, I agree, Brian. I think it was well done. I still caught myself because it's a musical, and this was a musical first. I did some digging. This was written as a musical and was on the stage.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. It still had moments where I said, "I bet that's better on stage."
Oh yeah.
Sure.
It still had moments where I was like, I bet that's better on stage. Like, not that the tribute to Abuela wasn't like emotionally like deep and didn't have a lot of raw emotion to it. I bet seeing that shit, because in a theater they're coming down the aisle and they're coming from all over the place. Like, I bet that's a more powerful moment in a theater than I felt like it was on screen. I'm not saying it wasn't bad. I just, for me personally, and people can disagree with me or not, this is my truth on it. I find musical adaptations that are turned into movies lack the same soul that they do when they're on the stage. And that's just my I find it hard to relate. I'm not saying they're not great, and I'm not saying that they're not worthy of accolade. I'm just saying, for me personally, they're hard for me to relate to.
Brian, what's your favorite musical?
Oof, that is tough. There's like 3. But man, I mean, I'd say, like, starting at the bottom here, we're gonna go Oklahoma. That was like one of the first musicals that I was like, oh, I really enjoy all of the singing and dancing. The second one is gonna be Book of Mormon. Like, every time anytime I hear it or see that production, makes me so happy. I feel like I have to say Hamilton, like, it has to be there. Like, it makes me feel things. And I think I'll stick there. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, like, Once and oh my gosh, the Rodgers and Hammerstein, Cinderella, like, that one's incredible too. There's a lot. Into the Woods too. I'm gonna stop. You asked me for 3. You asked me for 1, technically. I'll stop there. But, like, I mean, honestly, anything where you can demonstrate all that vocal range is something that always, I don't know, it always impresses me. And it's different than film, right? Like, anything with film, if you screw it up, you just, okay, we'll do it again and call it a day. Like, in theater, like, if you're, so I've seen Wicked, right? And there's this huge transformation scene. It happens in the Frozen musical too. And, like, if you miss your mark and the dress doesn't change during the magic, and, like, it's just half in and half out, the show goes on. Like, you can't recut that. You can't go back to the dailies and redo it or reshoot it. Like, there's some tension there for me. And it translates over to a movie for me for some reason. Like, I feel that similar energy. And maybe this is because I was like a proxy theater kid. I wasn't a super hardcore theater kid growing up. But, like, I had been in shows, I had been a part, like, I'd helped like crew shows and stuff like that. So I think that's the other reason it's, like, nestled in my being for another reason. So,
I think I'm the same way.
Brian and I have been friends for a while, and I just learned that he crewed for shows. I did not know that previously.
Well, that's typically that's kind of what I was going to say. When you experience this movie, I knew Brian was going to experience it in a completely different way.
Oh, for sure.
Because I am a fan of musicals too. So, like, growing up, my grandmother, who used to work for 911 before she retired, and she, the people who take the calls and stuff like that.
Yeah, dispatch.
She would always dispatch. Thank you. She would always get free tickets to. And mind you, this is in Houston. So the biggest thing is, like, art museums and all of these things. She would get free tickets to all of these art museums, these plays, and all of this stuff. So I literally grew up attending plays. I remember watching Peter Pan on stage. I remember watching all of these great music, like these great plays and theater productions on stage. Musicals, however, movie musicals, I really enjoy. Right, because I grew up on High School Musical, but my dad was the first person to show me The Wiz, which is the Wizard of Oz, but it's the black version of the Wizard of Oz, and a completely different story with new music and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
The Heights is interesting to me because I didn't know anything about it. I have not watched Hamilton, so I haven't seen any of Lin-Miranda's previous work.
Right.
So because of that, I'm going into it, and this is my introduction into his world, the way he does things. And literally, I was not expecting this much singing. I don't know if that's weird to say, and it's not like a bad thing. But they were breaking the songs for things that I felt like could have been regular dialogue, but it was just the flow of the movie.
Yeah, it was. You're absolutely right. And going back to that Mark Anthony bit, you're right. That's like the only moment of that movie
without singing.
where it's not even like a sing-songy or like kind of a low-key rap.
No.
Like
yeah,
it like that's pretty much like now I'm really thinking about it hard. But yeah, I mean this movie is mostly to a bop. Like no matter what's going on. I don't know. I love that. And maybe that's because part of the reason that this movie worked for me is that it's just like it kept moving. Like it was 2.5 hours, which I'll be honest, I did feel it a little bit.
I felt that. No, I felt that.
I felt that too.
I was gonna wait, but I felt that.
Well, and also what's funny, I watched this at home. So you all saw it in the theater, and I'm curious if my experience would have been different, but Maggie was like, all right, well, how long is this movie? What are we doing? Like, we have this routine now anytime I do this for the podcast. And she's like, 2.5 hours. Excuse me, sir.
Brittany does the exact same thing. She's like, how long is it? 2.5? You can go watch it by yourself. Yep. Goodbye.
It was like a razor's edge. I'm gonna be honest, but I think the musical pulled her in because we usually watch some other weird stuff. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like once you hit 96,000, that pool dance sequence, I feel like once you hit that, it's pretty much like it's on its way. But before that, you're kind of like trying to piece some stuff together.
Yeah.
I will say this also. I will say that the actors in it gave 110%, and I think that made it certainly easier to like relate. And I think it made it. You can tell that these people they have a background. Sorry, you can tell that the actors have a background in singing and performing, because I don't think that this is like they went back and they got somebody else's voice or they recorded this somewhere else. I think that they shot it so that way it could be as true to a musical as it possibly could have been. This has all of the tropes of a musical top to bottom. And they work. Like, I'm not saying that they don't work. They are definitely there. And so I think it's I think it's well done. I think it's like they did an awesome job, and I think the actors really brought it. And I think the other thing is, you can tell that, again, Lin-Manuel Miranda grew up in the Heights, or he has some knowledge of it, because I don't feel like this was anywhere else. Like if this was if this was shot on a soundstage, if this was shot somewhere else, I don't really know the details of it. But if they shot it where like on a soundstage, you couldn't tell, because they really, really did a great job. And this is a shout out to the set designer. I was there. Like I was there 100%. I was there. So yeah, I think that there are definitely some highlights of this particular movie. Again, musicals aren't typically my shtick. I'm glad I saw this in a theater. I felt like I could immerse myself in it a little bit more. I'd be willing to bet that if I had watched this at home, because of how I feel about musicals, I probably would have zoned out around a 2-hour mark.
That's a good point. It was fun seeing Dr. Dre sing. I mean, we're looking at it. It was. Let me actually get his name.
I'll get it for you. You keep talking.
Corey Hawkins. Corey Hawkins played Benny. And he also played Dr. Dre in God, what was the name of that movie? Straight Outta Compton. So it was good seeing him, first of all, diversify his casting, which he seems to have done well. He didn't get caught in that biopic role, kind of like a Chadwick Boseman or anything like that. Rest in peace. But he was in what was that movie with the 6 cars on Netflix? It didn't really do that well. It was with Ryan
Underground.
6 Underground. I like that movie. I like that. That was him. He played the sniper in that movie, who wanted to know everybody's name and make it family. And then he did this. So he did well diversifying. I think they did well with the cast selection. Now, in my bad portion, I'll bring up some things that is not my personal bad, but it is something that seems to be an issue with the movie in regards to the casting. But I did like him in this role. It didn't seem forced. His chemistry with Nina didn't seem forced. It seemed natural. Everything seemed natural. Was it realistic as a black man, as the only black man in a Hispanic neighborhood? I don't think so. I feel like we've been a lot more racial tension, but neither here nor there.
I mean, there was already a large amount of tension between them, and we didn't even know anything about Nina And then Nina comes home. We're like, oh, it's a big deal. Nina's home. Like, also, by the way, I don't know how this movie did it, but like, I don't know Nina. I have no idea who this person is. She comes home, and I feel like I want to turn to Maggie and be like, Nina's back. Did you know this?
Exactly.
She's back.
Exactly.
We better have her over for dinner. This movie did such a good job of like familiarizing yourself with these people who you did not know, and like it. I don't know. I really enjoyed that. Please continue.
Because I think that's a great point. I didn't know who the lead was. I didn't know who the lead was.
I'll say this about Nina. I wish she was the lead.
Really? Leslie Grace played Nina Rosario.
Yes, I did not. If you gun to my head of the storylines that I preferred, and this is
we're not at the bad yet.
This is a positive. I'm not in the bad yet. This is a positive. Everybody,
here we go.
Vanessa's
we're not there. We're not
I
there.
did not prefer, but Nina did such an outstanding job acting in it and building up her storyline and telling stories that I could relate to and that I were familiar with from my previous role in higher education, that I went, holy shit. Like she really brought it, and she told story. Like the way she told her story was just so outstanding. That I thought it was really, really well done. So I think if you had given me a choice of which one I wanted to spend more time with, I wanted to spend more time with Nina's character than I did Vanessa's character.
Wow.
We're not going to go into the bad yet. So more good things.
Brian, you disagree?
We can talk more about
I think
Vanessa and Nina. I mean, because I feel like we can't just talk about Vanessa and Nina. I feel like what this show does is like there's like a quadruple lead situation here almost.
Yeah.
But we can talk more about that in the bad.
I would love to.
But I mean, I think as we talk about this too, I feel like what this movie also did well was it felt like it was trying to channel like the 1920s, 30s movies of and films of like, you're just talking about all these like dance flicks, everything from like
Singing in the Rain.
Everything from Singing in the Rain, like anything with Fred Astaire, anything with Bing Crosby, and you're having all these dance sequences. And what it felt like was an update of that. Like, that's kind of what it felt like to me of like, hey, like, what if we did this, but like updated it and it's not all white people and it's actually things people can relate to, right? Because in the 20s and 30s, those were all movies of like, oh, they're all so glitzy and glamorous. I wish I could be like that. And this was very much like, welcome to Washington Heights. It's hot. Like, nobody's getting what they want. Get in line. I don't know the best way to describe it in the moment here, but I feel like it captured that energy, and I feel like, I don't know, we'll see what Hollywood does with it. I know they're redoing West Side Story, so we'll see if like this has a interplay between the two. I just feel like it was really good at capturing that energy and creating that escapism within a realm of like realism. Like it's really hard for me to say like I felt like I escaped somewhere, even though Sonny's talking about being a dreamer. Like that's a very real thing and a very heartbreaking thing. And they're talking about like, hey man, you may not even become a citizen. Do you still want to do this? And then in the same note, it's still this like uplifting thing. And I don't know a lot of movies that can do that. So that was one of the other big takeaways for me as a positive.
Look at Doug. We're not there yet. Listen, one of the other things that
we can talk about it. Like,
are we done with the good? Because I feel like before Doug gets there,
this isn't bad. Here's what I want to say. I think that this movie took a lot of inspiration from Spike Lee and used it to its credit. Yes. Because I said to Marcus as this movie started, I said, this movie is weird for me because the last movie that I watched where there was heat and it was New York, a black kid got choked out.
It was Do the Right Thing.
Like, it was Do the Right Thing. So like, there was a lot of this that I was like, why is every story that talks about where there's a lot of tension that's centered around a borough in New York, whether it's Harlem or whether it's Washington Heights, have heat involved, and therefore there's tension. So I entirely appreciate the originality of it. And I do sincerely hope that there's better representation and we get a modern interpretation of some of these classical musicals,
right?
If only to update them to be a bit more relatable for a modern audience.
Yeah,
I do think that this drew inspiration from other things in film previously.
Absolutely. No, it does definitely feel like they watch Do the Right Thing and they're like, hey,
absolutely,
we're making this movie called In the Heights.
It's interesting. I think this movie, I don't know. I just appreciate it for what it is.
Sure,
in a good way. Not one of those like, we typically say that for like Godzilla versus Kong, and like we appreciate it. It's a monster fighting movie.
But it's almost in the same stable though. Almost. Keep saying what you're saying though.
Yeah.
I think,
It's like if you appreciate these kind of stories and this movie kind of feels like it's not one that was meant for if you like musicals, you're gonna like it, right? Yep. But also there's a deeper layer here that's like there is a component here that everybody's not gonna get, but it's not meant for you. Does that make sense? Like,
100%.
It's like there's things in here that everybody's just not gonna understand and get.
No,
and it wasn't something that was what I did appreciate. There wasn't a lot of police or any of those kind of scenes in here of roughing people up or that kind of thing. Like,
I got so
they covered
worried.
the topic of gentrification and stuff, and I appreciate them covering these realistic topics. But what we did not get in this film, unlike Do the Right Thing, like Doug is saying, we didn't get police interactions with this community at all. Their biggest thing was you absolutely could have
the fireworks
in the middle of a fucking blackout.
I was nervous.
Yeah, when they got caught in the club, I definitely thought there was going to be some type of interaction with police. That's me in my black mind of like, look at this large group of brown black people in the middle of the night in a blackout where that's prime time for you to get your shit off and like send the police down there to kind of fucking heckle everybody. You know what I mean?
Man,
like,
we didn't even get there. And I will own that. That's a fantastic point.
So I just appreciated the happier side. The saddest part of this movie is obviously seeing Mark Anthony be an alcoholic and then seeing Abuela die. Those are the saddest dips in this movie, and it didn't revolve around seeing people of color get fucking beat down or killed.
Right. Yes. I think that's absolutely right, Marcus. And I kept thinking to myself when the blackout happened, I thought somebody was going to die. Yeah. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I was tense and waiting for it to happen.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with that of like, it was nice to see a story about hope and something super, super positive. I do think that this movie has some tone issues that I will
it sounds like a good transition point to me.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because to me, the biggest issue with tone is that I think that there are some moments where I think that they could have leaned into it a little bit more. And again, this feels weird to critique. So this is what I'm going to say. So I'm going to give you a caveat and I'm going to go back to my point.
Do it.
This is a musical first. I am criticizing something that has been written and performed and been successful. It is just my interpretation. Overall, this movie is good, and I'm going to leave it there. I thoroughly enjoyed it. However, I think that there are some moments with this where I got confused as an audience member about what the point was.
Sure. Well, and I also feel like it's fair to say that like you're making a movie. Like this is a movie. The stage production is its own thing. It won its Tonys. It is critically acclaimed, and we as a podcast are not disputing that. But when you make it into a form like this, it's like a book becoming a movie. You're still critiquing the format that it appears in. And I think that's totally fair, Doug.
Because ain't no intermission in a movie.
No
2 hours in the 2 hours musical is long and with no intermission. I'm just gonna put that in the perspectives, play people that may not have gone. I don't want to assume, but like if you go to a play or some type of theater production, there's typically an actual break in the production for you to get up, go to the bathroom. The actors and actresses and people who act are getting ready. Then they come back and then you finish out the rest of the thing.
It's when Usnavi says, well, should we take a break? That was a lot. That's where the act break is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's the act break. Like, to me, that was like, okay, this is the part where they take a break on the stage.
So what parts were you like, okay, we can move this along, or like, why are we singing about this, Doug? What was that for you then? If that's what you're talking about, or like, why are we doing it?
It's not even that. It's just tone stuff. It's like, it's like to your point, like the thing with the dream, the kid who names are escaping me. Sonny. When Sonny is having that issue, that's put in the last 30 minutes of a 2.5 hour movie.
Yes.
Like, and that to me felt like you're introducing a new concept in your conclusion.
Yes.
Like at this point in time, in my mind, you're supposed to be wrapping up. And because again, this is a story of how all of these people come together, how really Usnavi and Vanessa come together and have their life together, right? I mean, that's what this is. This is a classic romance in some respect. And then you dump this in there, and I'm like, no offense to Sonny, I don't give a shit. Like, show me how your two main character actors get together, because at this point in time, I'm emotionally invested in them, and you didn't do the work for Sonny.
Well, Doug, I agree with your statement. I will disagree with what I thought the tone was, because they keep mentioning the name of his father shack was the Little Dream or Little Dreamer or something like that, right? The whole thing was everybody has a dream. That was the punch at the beginning of the film that Usnavi is talking about, that everybody had a dream on the block. And Usnavi's dream was to go and run his father's shop. Vanessa's dream was to do, was to move and fashion and all of that. The hairstylist had a dream. Everybody had a damn dream.
Sure.
Right. At some point for me, what happened was, and I get that maybe Abuela's dream was just seeing, the reason she was able to peacefully pass was because she was able to, her dream was seeing her community and her people come together. Yeah. That's what I put together.
No, that's what I took away from it too.
But it lost me though. Like, we never got that full dream moment because it felt like a lot was packed into 2 hours. I agree. And that's where I agree with Doug is Sonny's thing. The entire movie, we see Sonny, he's this confident kid who is going through the city. He's at these protests. He's doing his thing. And then we have this like 10-minute moment where all of a sudden him and Nina have this moment of, well, I wanted to go to college. And I was like, wait a minute. I wanted to be like you. And I was like, wait a minute. We could have addressed this earlier. And then we came to the, you know what I mean? Like I do agree with Doug in that tone. I don't know if I said it the correct way, but that's kind of where I agree with Doug at.
I hear you. And I think the larger structural thing here that we'll keep coming back to is like the third act of this is so rushed.
That's what it is.
A lot of the third act is rushed, and I don't know why. And we'll come back to it. With Sonny, it fit narratively and thematic with me because narratively, right? Like Sonny's assuming he can go to college and be like Nina. And then we, the audience, feel the same way. It's like, oh, it's Sonny. He's the kid that runs the shop. He's going to be fine. And then that's what makes that moment so critical and like gut wrenching to me is that we felt the same way as Sonny. Like everything's going to be fine. And then they go to this protest and he's like, no, it's not. And you're like, oh, no, like the movie's almost over. Like, oh no. And then to have it, and then it's resolved like what, 20 minutes later, I should say, let me say it this way. This plot point is resolved, not Sonny's situation, but the plot point is resolved by Usnavi saying like, we're going to take you to a lawyer and do this. And it does feel a little rushed, but narratively and thematically it worked for me. But I totally get that critique, and I feel like it's a larger critique of the third act.
And it could be a format issue, right? Like it could be again, in stage, this makes a lot more sense than it does when you put it in this format, because again, in the movie, because to Brian's point, he said, I feel like we had 4 or 5 lead characters in a movie format that is really fucking hard to do.
That's a lot.
It's the Spider-Man 3 conundrum. Like it's the you have so many different people vying for plot point, character development, tension and release from storytelling, right? That it's hard to keep track of. I'm not saying that he did a bad job. I'm saying I'm probably dense and missed something. Like I'm just saying I think it's a challenge to have 4 people in a movie format share that space and keep track of it all.
You also gave resolution to some characters, and then to some you did not. So like for me, I was like, okay, so what happened to Benny? Benny opened up the dispatch shop in the middle of the night, showed his dedication. I guess the assumption is that place still got sold, and that's what it was. You know what I'm saying?
Benny was the biggest casualty here, I feel like, from stage to screen, because man, I agree with you, Marcus. It was like, oh man, he's like raring to go, and he's driven, and he's running the dispatch, and he's there in the middle of the night on a generator, sweating his like everything
with the father, with the dad,
right? And then it was just like, well, he did it. Okay, moving on. You know, like it that part, I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? Okay.
Because I thought what would have happened was, Benny bought the shop from his father, was saving up, or the father decided not to sell it, kept it, found another way to get some money for the daughter. There was storylines that you started peaking. The love story between Vanessa and Usnavi came in deep in the third act.
Yeah.
It was mentioned throughout the first and the second, but it really got heavy in the third when he's about to leave.
Yeah.
Stuff that could have been resolved. We had a really heavy storyline with the hairstylist that I feel like they were really maybe 3 additional characters that in one that we had to keep up with. And, you know, they wanted their goodbye and you had to give them a big celebration. And you know what I'm saying? It was just, it's a lot at once and for 2 hours.
Right. And it's just a lot to keep track of. And I don't think it's not bad. It's just, I had a hard time with it. Like
in a play, my mindset is there's multiple characters, keep up. Like you have to do that. And I have a playbill in my hand that's going to tell you who everybody is.
Also
this movie literally is me just going in, sitting next to my buddy, and me and him are fucking laughing for 10 minutes, lost something in there. But like, we also have to sit through this movie for 2 hours. While the music is good and there's some that are like bops, like Abuela song, love that. I thought that was really good.
Oh, all right.
And then I like the song. I like that one too. What I will say, what I meant to say earlier, I did like the way that they added effects to this movie. So when they were rapping the 96,000 song, they had the illustrations of them doing the things. Cool. Vanessa scene with the fabrics coming off of the buildings. We thought, me and Doug literally looked at each other and was like, oh, that's okay. That's pretty good. They did a good job there. That was great. Other things, Vanessa.
Okay, what are we doing with Vanessa?
Doug, do you want to?
Yes, I would love to. Because I'm the mayor of Pettytown, is it at all possible for Vanessa when you're in an alley and everybody's thinking about how much power they have and how the world can't keep them down, and she's like, no, it can keep us down because the night is dark and it's full of terrors and everything's awful and we don't have any power. I just was pissed. I was like, shut up, get out of here. Like, we are all trying to celebrate our power together and to have fun and to sing our cares away. And if you're going to keep reminding us what they are, you can get the fuck out of here with that.
Brian, no, literally, I'm with Doug on this one, right? Everybody's singing. Everybody is singing.
It's a bummer, man.
Hoorah. We have all the power. We've got power. We got us. And she literally is like, I don't know why y'all are singing. This place sucks and my apartment got denied.
Her apartment did get denied.
But
I don't know. For me, okay, 2 things. One, it worked for me because, like, that's where she's at. She's not in a good mood. Like, she's not there with everybody else when they're like, we're going to try to feel better. She's like, I'm not there. Like, I'm going to sing with you, but I'm not here. And then, like, also
selfish woman.
Like, thematically and from a song standpoint, she also, it was like a reverse rhythm, right? Like, it was like the call and response of like, we're so happy, and she's like, I'm not so happy, right? And then you have this contrast, blah blah blah. Music, Marcus can talk about it way better than I can, but I liked that because she was clearly going through something, and through like song and dance, she was able to get to a better place, right? That's like, I feel like, I mean, to me, like, Vanessa gets to a place, like, she's in a dark place. We're seeing it like when they're sitting on the step, and then when everybody's dancing during the second blackout, like, she's still like, nah, we don't have any power. But then, like, Usnavi's there, and he's like, I think I'm remembering this correctly. Go ahead, Marcus. Maybe I'm misremembering.
I have a question.
Okay,
that's why I don't want to throw you off, Brian.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so here's my question. Was Vanessa's dream, if we're assuming everybody's dream, was Vanessa's dream Usnavi? Because she didn't go on and become a famous fashion designer or any. Nina went back to school. Benny didn't. I don't know.
We don't know what
happened to Benny. Usnavi's dream was really being in the heights and in the city. Vanessa's story is told in this choppy manner where she's like, I've got important things to do. When I invite men to my house, they hear the A train and they don't like it, but I don't give a fuck. Get out. Like, that's literally what she said. And I was like, wait a minute, what? And so, like,
I want you to do a Marcus Destin version of songs from In the Heights.
Man.
I can do it. The remix is coming soon. She goes downtown, digs in the trash cans for fabric. She has this fashion book, and I thought that it was going to be her going to fashion school. Her dream was getting the apartment. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Of her story was the biggest point for her was getting the apartment and moving. There was not a point where it was like fashion school or anything. She just so happened to be good at fashion, is how I felt. So then she took over the bodega, had all these fashion stuff, and then when things fast forward, there is no. I went to fashion school. Usnavi is like, yeah, I knocked her up, and we went and started playing in the water. Like, yeah.
To me, Vanessa's story was about like achieving whatever her fashion sense was going to be. Like whether it was making dresses, whether it was creating them. That's what I took from it. And the apartment was symbolic of leaving the heights. Of the theme of like everyone's moving out of the heights, like everybody's moving on and all that stuff. That's how I interpreted it. The way you've described it,
she couldn't make any clothes in the new apartment, so then that was a waste of time. Somebody put their credit on the line for that shit.
But it was because of the fast forward, though. You see that like she's still making clothes in the bodega. She's still being able to do what she wants.
Is that what that was?
If you look at the bodega in the final sequence, like you see like mannequins with her designs on them
too. On the side, when you like zoom out, when they're going out to dance in the fire hydrants, it says something like Vanessa Originals or something like original like fashion. It says something on the side. I can't remember exactly what it is, but
they sell tomato soup and new dresses in the bodega.
Bodegas in New York, they'll sell.
They do sell everything. That's fair, Brian.
They sell all kinds of things.
Stories out here, yeah, that's right.
The other thing I'll say is that Vanessa would probably have a positive attitude about her life if she didn't live inside a meat locker, because it was conservatively 100 degrees outside. Her body did not tell you that was the temperature.
Oh,
what are you talking about?
She was nipping out.
Oh, okay.
In the middle of a heat wave.
I am disengaging.
And that is another episode of Films in Black.
I am disengaging from that discourse.
Films in Black,
and it's not like you can't notice.
What I will say, though,
that's the only thing I was
absolutely sidestepping that. Absolutely.
Go, Brian, go.
I felt like while Vanessa's like little dream wasn't like directly said out loud, I feel like it played into this theme of like, yes, this is what she wants to do. She's not satisfied here, but like finding a way to make it okay with where you are at is like a really big part of the final movie. So I don't know. That's why I pretty much vibed with everything Vanessa. No, I thought that was nice.
And here's the other thing. Musicals, they don't come out and say it. They say metaphor, and you're supposed to read between the lines. And
a little bit.
That is probably more a reflection on me than it is necessarily on the movie that I didn't get the metaphor. So I'm not trying to throw the baby out.
I think the setup could have been done better because they really dived into Nina's story. Like, you can't halfway do it. You either got to go full gusto or not at all. Like, is the story surrounding around Usnavi and his dream solely? Or are we, because you do Usnavi's dream, they did a good portion of Nina's dream. They did a good portion of who else story did they kind of tell? The hairstylist. They did the hairstylist, but then you get into people like Benny, Sonny. Sonny's story is rushed. Benny doesn't get a full circle moment. The father doesn't get a full circle moment. It's just assumed he sold the shop and things are okay.
Yeah.
Like, all characters just did not get a full, let's put a ribbon on this and call it a day moment.
Yeah.
For me.
No. That's after Abuela dies. After she passes, it's like they're in the edit bay and they're like, oh no, we need to sew this up right now because we're at the 2-hour mark. No. So, and I feel like those are casualties. That's what I feel like happened because in all honesty, I feel like Nina's story is the best stated, best shown,
for sure,
best
100%.
Performed. Like, I feel like everything with Nina's story connects, at least for me. It's all very like, emotional, and it and this isn't to take away anything from Usnavi. It's just like, it's almost like Usnavi's story is like, this is the framing, but we're going to talk to you about Nina in the middle of this.
I agree.
You know,
I agree. I agree.
I completely agree with that. And again, I really liked it. And I appreciate, here's the thing, and to go back to things that I really liked. I liked that throughout the majority of the intro to her story, she's like, please don't say that I'm an inspiration. Please don't say that I'm an inspiration. And then she has this moment with Sonny where Sonny is like having to realize that his dream of following in her footsteps isn't going to happen. And she has to check herself from saying, don't say it. Because she realizes how it's the impact of like she can't quite realize how she's an inspiration until she sees that exact moment. So I think that story arc is fucking awesome and it was a home run.
Now,
go ahead.
One of the problems that I do have to mention that I don't know a lot about is representation in this film. Now, usually I'm the one that's like, oh, it was good diversity. That's one of the first things I always look at in a movie, just out of force of habit. Because I used to play this game with my mom, and it used to be we used to play two games when it came to films growing up. It was find the edits. So find the edits. So find which moments were like bad or badly chopped.
That's really wholesome. That's really cool. We all did that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. We would watch it. We would go find the edits or find whatever is off. And then we would also count how many black people is in the movie. So like just naturally it was like how many black people in the movie. Now, one of the things I did not know, because once again, this movie does its job from what my understanding, it's just dropping you in the middle of a culture to make you feel like you've been there the whole time. There was a couple of interviews with the director or the casting director about representation of Afro-Latino, Afro-Latinx, of darker skin representation, how everybody in the main character outside of Benny, but Benny's black. He's not
right.
Afro-Latino, Latinx. There were no darker skinned characters in the leads, and they felt like there was no proper representation, and that seems to be a thing that's picking up steam on the other side. There's interviews for it. I'm not going to speak too much on it, but I do think that it's important to recognize for that community that, you know, if I'm for me as a black man, if I'm in a movie that is like predominantly black, and it's like Black Panther. If you look at Black Panther, a lot of the representation, there are all shades of representation in that movie, right? If you had Black Panther where all of the major leads were of fair skin, or what we call lighter skin black people, excuse me, there would have been issues with lack of representation if all your villains would have been dark skinned and all your main leads would have been of lighter skin complexion. So that's the conversation, and it's talking about not having proper representation of a dark skinned community that properly reflects the heights. Look into it, do your own research. If I messed it up, please call me out on it, and I will, I'll learn and fix it.
Yeah, and I just want to add here that I do not feel equipped to have this conversation, and I want to say that out loud, and that I myself will definitely be looking at what exactly colorism is, because that's the term I keep seeing pop up, and I want to know more about it. And I'm manifesting this, and I'm putting this out into the airwaves, because it's okay that you don't know something, but it's even more important that you say, okay, I'm gonna Google that myself. I'm going to figure it out myself. And I call my fellow white people to do this, because a lot of times, like, white people are like, I'm going to go read a book. If you're looking at our live stream right now, Doug just put up the banner, read a book. But a lot of times white people make people of color do emotional labor of all of these things of like, tell me about this. And it comes from a good place, but the impact is not great. You're making these people explain all these things. Google is right there. Please use Google and read a book. My fellow white people, you can do this. I believe in you. And that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to look that up and have a better understanding of it, because I knew that we might talk about it tonight, and I definitely don't feel equipped. So I do understand that is a concern, and hopefully I'll have a little bit more clarity and be able to add to that discussion in the future.
In brief, I just want to give it in brief from my perspective.
Do it.
When in brief, within the black community, now it goes all the way, stems back to slavery, right? When you look at slavery, there were people who were house slaves, and there were field slaves. Now, very much harsher terms were used, but these are the terms we're going to use, right? So house slaves, people who were in the house were of fair skin, and they were, they were of a lighter complexion, of a fair skin. Darker skinned slaves were in the fields. That's why. So there creates this tension, if you've ever seen Roots, of house people, house N words is what the phrase is. And then you have, like, if you look at Django, Samuel Jackson's character, now he's dark skinned, but he was considered a house slave because of the way he acted. He kissed ass, he did all that kind of stuff like that. But typically people in the house were fairer skinned, and that created tension with people in the fields because they are darker skinned, and they pit against each other. Fast forward, the same tension still exists within the Black community because it goes light skin. We have this conversation of light skin versus dark skin. Okay. And if you're light skin, we have conversations. If you're Black enough, if you're mixed or biracial, there's conversations. You ain't Black enough, you're not white enough. There's several layers to colorism that exists within the community when it comes to casting. Typically, there's a lot of moments where fair-skinned people are typically casted, picked, or over romanticized, sexualized, whatever the case may be, more than darker-skinned people, where they are more frowned upon, villainized, etc., which is why in a lot of shows you see white is good, dark is bad, where you'll have a lighter version of something and a darker version of something, and it all stems from that. So that's just a piece of it. When you look at representation within that community, it gets a little bit different because now you're talking about an entirely different, like, ethnicity, race, cultural belief, and all that kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
I hope and once again, look it up for yourself.
That's really helpful. Yep.
It's a lot.
Good crash course, but definitely some more digging to do. I want to go back just really quickly as we start to wrap this up to kind of get into to follow up on a point that Brian made of, like, things that were left on the cutting room floor. And I'm going to bring up some information that we have because this is a Warner Brothers movie. And we know that WB does not like things that are over 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
This was a WB thing. Brian, we can't hear you.
It could be
good
very, very, very possible that, to Brian's point, that WB told them to not to cut this and to follow it up. And we can all said, we are not going to let you go over that 2.5 hour mark. So maybe they had to leave some of those more exposition moments kind of out of the snipping room floor. And I will say that this also, to kind of follow up on the point of, like, things being in the news, there has been now over the course of today, and I imagine as we start to go into the rest of the week, some reports on box office numbers and performance of this particular movie when it comes to HBO Max.
Yeah.
Currently, this weekend, what we would have thought In the Heights to win the box office battle, it lost to the third weekend of A Quiet Place 2.
That was a good movie, though.
Also, if you look at how it has performed, it is wildly underperformed the other box offices of other movies that have come out, whether that's in both streaming numbers and the box office. So let me run this down. So currently, In the Heights has 693,000 U.S. households watched it over the course of this weekend.
Really?
And it only made $11 million at the box office. Of the experiment that has happened with this, like, releasing things in two places, Mortal Kombat, 3.8 million viewers in a 3-day period and $23.3 million in an opening box office. Godzilla vs. Kong, $3.6 million and 3.6 million 5-day viewers and a $48 million box office. Wonder Woman 1984, 2.2 million U.S. households and 16.7 opening box office. And then the last weekend's The Conjuring, $1.6 million in a 3-day and 24.1 opening in a box office. I got that information from Deadline.
What about the Snyder Cut?
I'm not going to compare that because why would we need to continue to bring that up? So
that wasn't released in theaters,
because
though.
We still didn't get. Oh yeah, you're right. God damn it! All right.
But so
that bailed you out, Doug.
Thank you. I was prepared to go down on my ship with my point.
I'll get them next time.
But I think it's interesting, the performance of this, right? Because this is supposed to be a feel-good movie of the summer with the positivity, and it's having some moments. So I don't wonder what's going on with it. It's just kind of interesting and maybe food for thought. And I don't think there's like a conspiracy of, like, he didn't get to tell his vision, so we need the Miranda cut in order to get the real version of the movie.
I would have the Miranda cut.
I am not throwing shade. I'm just saying, like, if there's stuff left out, is it too long? What is it that maybe people are having a hard time with when it comes to this particular movie.
This didn't get a lot of promo for me though. Like as far as some of the things that I noticed, Mortal Kombat, Conjuring, and Quiet Place 2 all had. Well, was Quiet Place 2 released on HBO Max?
No,
that I don't know.
No, that's not an HBO property.
Just it was in the theaters, right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I didn't see a lot of promo for In the Heights.
No,
usually TikTok is like big on new upcoming movie. Every movie, Conjuring, all of that has had a TikTok ad at the beginning before I start my scrolling, because that's typically how you open the app. TikTok, and they have a TikTok. They start you off with some kind of ad. What the hell? They have to start you off with some kind of ad.
It's all right. Take your time here.
I'm struggling here, but I didn't see a lot of promotion for In the Heights. I didn't see a lot of commercials or anything until maybe the week of the release. There wasn't a lot for me in the things that I watched of commercials and things, but I also pay the premium service for things, so I ain't got to watch commercials.
Look at you. Yeah, I don't pay the premium for things, and I haven't seen a lot of commercials for it either. So I think maybe there's some promotional stuff for it, but maybe they thought this one would sell itself. I don't know. It's just
after Hamilton, you would think so, right?
I don't know if my cookies are whack, y'all, but like I got a lot of ads for this. Like not on Facebook, but like it did show up for me on TikTok. It did show anytime I went to a movie website, I got In the Heights stuff. So I don't know. Maybe my internet browsing history is like, this guy like musicals, and he did something on HBO Max. You better get this guy. Get all the impressions they have.
Make sure that guy gets the musical, huh?
I mean, it's probably because I liked one musical on Facebook, and then of course that information went everywhere.
Yeah.
But
also, In the Heights is fairly new. Quiet Place 2 is a sequel. Mortal Kombat is a remake.
And I feel like this. Well, we don't have to have this conversation, but something that I feel like we'll always come back to here is just the way that the industry is that unless you are having another franchise movie, you're not going to get these gangbuster numbers. You're just
great point.
You're not.
That's a great point, Brian.
And I feel like, and it's just the victim of our own success of like getting some of these comic book movies. I'm gonna call that out. Like, once people realize like, oh, like you'll keep seeing this stuff. Like if it has the Marvel tag on it, okay, well we'll keep iterating on this formula, but it'll be a similar formula. And then I feel like it gets really, really hard. Like A Quiet Place 2, that's a franchise now, but I still feel like that's getting word of mouth, which is how it beat In the Heights. And so I feel like that's something that's happening here. And these movies, like these types of musical movies, it's just finding it a harder time to break out. And I don't know how I feel about it, but I also feel like at the same time, if you're having a streaming service, you already have people's money. Like I subscribe to HBO Max. You already have my money for this movie. So on the other hand, I'm like, I don't feel bad. Like I don't feel, like obviously I wanted to succeed because I liked it and I'd like to see more things like it, but I don't know. It's really complicated and I don't know exactly how I feel about it, but I feel like we're back to this conversation again. And again, I feel like this conversation always pops up at the beginning of the summer, right? We don't have a ton of original movies in the summer. I think there was one summer where like Pacific Rim was the only original movie.
Right, and didn't it ran for like 2 months as the number one movie or something like that?
Like it did really well. Well, and then it became a franchise, it's just... that's a longer conversation. I feel like In the Heights is up against that.
A musical released on Disney Plus like Hamilton is super successful.
Right.
A musical released on HBO Max. Now I told y'all Disney Plus is when I was feeling and HBO Max is when I was feeling like bad boy on my bad boy side. And I think that HBO Max has become that. Maybe HBO Max is not for the happy-go-lucky type of content. Maybe people who watch these are the same people who used to watch HBO After Dark or like HBO, you know what I mean? Like the audience is completely different. You drop In the Heights on Disney, maybe you got a better reception on Disney Plus because of the audience that Disney Plus is, and they're used to musicals. They're used to that. Maybe West Side Story is as more of an aggressive musical or whatever it is, or more like whatever you want to call it. maybe that is better successful in this one because there isn't a lot of violence in this movie.
No,
West Side Story has violence. It has all these things, and maybe that's the thing that doesn't make it interesting. There isn't. For the audience, there is no plight, there is no struggle, there is no something. Maybe that's something that takes into consideration.
Your face as some of those others are. Like
Absolutely.
there's clearly struggle and plight and all that stuff is a real. Those are real struggles. And, so it just could be there. The other thing, and I did a quick cursory glance while you all were sort of talking about it, is the runtime of the two movies that it is lost. That it's coming. Well, The Quiet Place 2 is an hour and 37-minute runtime, and The Conjuring is an hour and 54-minute runtime. So two movies that are under 2 hours. So is it possible that now that people are coming out of the pandemic, their time's more valuable and sitting through 2.5 hours is a little bit of a tall order?
Maybe. I'm not a good.
I don't know. This is all speculative, and I don't think it's necessarily anything that's like impacts how we consume the movie. I just thought it was interesting as we're sort of talking about the movie and what we thought, kind of talking about the critical reception of it or the, the business of it a little bit. So
154 off of 2 hours. That's like that's not that much of a time difference, though.
Really
like,
no, it's not. All things considered, it's not. And especially, I think you have so much more here. So I'm actually surprised that more people didn't go to it because it's a little bit longer, has a lot more beef to it than not. And I haven't seen the other two, so I saw both.
Anything. And The Conjuring was good. I would go Quiet Place 2, In the Heights, Conjuring.
That's what I've heard is
and it's nothing like The Conjuring was a good film. I'm probably never going to rewatch it. The Heights has more replay value to me.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Quiet Place 2 has more replay value to me. I'm probably going to forget about The Conjuring because I'm not a horror movie fan like that. So I watched it because I've watched the others and I wanted to see this one. The Heights is I really think that there's something there about there's not gentrification as an idea to a lot of people is not the big bad that is the big bad. If you had somebody who was going to be a big bad police or big bad this in that movie, it becomes a lot more relatable to people because that's in the time of things as opposed to like trying to follow your dream and like those aren't the things that really bring people in.
Or maybe it's too on the nose for the times that we live in. Maybe it's a little, maybe it's like, why do I need to go see a movie about gentrification when I'm fucking living it? You know what I mean? Like maybe there's something there too.
But see, all the ads that I got, now again, this might be my cookies, but like all the ads I got was like, it's a musical. And I'm moving my hands, by the way, for everybody that's listening at home. And like, it's just people dancing in the street. And I was like, I'm going to watch it. Let's do it. I did not like, I knew that gentrification was like, there was a moment in it, but I didn't. That was not advertised to me as like, hey, come see a musical about this. It was just more like people dancing on the street.
Well, they couldn't because then it wouldn't sell because then nobody would be like, I'm not going to go watch a movie about gentrification. Like Doug said, like if you promote it that way, is that this is what now the only thing that seems to be successful is like slave movies. Like I can't watch another slave movie. I don't want to watch. This is 12 Years a Slave, and we're going to follow his 12-year journey as a slave. I don't want to watch that. I'm not watching.
I'm all set. I don't need to do that.
I don't know why I said that, but there you go.
Anyway, that was like, again, I accused this movie of introducing concepts in the conclusion, and then I went and did it. But gentlemen, anything else with this movie that you want to talk about before we, sort of get to our recommendation?
Two things I need to say. The club song, Nina's moment in the sun or in the nightclub, however you want to say it. That was electric. It was fun. I laughed. I had a smile on my face the whole time. And the romantic interlude of, Usnavi being like, oh, you can go dance with other people. He obviously wants to dance with her. And Vanessa being like, well, I want to dance with you, but they keep dancing with other people. And everyone's like, oh, Vanessa's here. And I kept laughing. I kept smiling. It made me feel so good. I don't know. I just really like watching people fall in love. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But I just really enjoyed that sequence, and I felt like they nailed this summer and this city vibe. I really felt that. And then I'm going back to 96,000 here. I just wanted to give a shout out. Some trivia I wanted to share was that they filmed that in 3 days. They filmed that entire pool dance sequence in 3 days. and I am impressed because anytime that I like my barometer for like how much time people film things is like compared to the original Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner, when it took them 6 weeks to fill that one playground fight scene that was like inconsequential to the movie. Yes. So the idea that like all these dancers were like, let's go in the water, let's go. And they got it done in 3 days when it was supposed to be 2. Yeah. Meanwhile, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner were like, okay, next week we'll get this. So
don't worry, guys.
We'll try it again this week. The swings, next week the seesaw.
Yep. Next week we'll get this next week. We'll come back next week. In any case, those were 2 things that brought me joy, and I wanted to share them.
Brian, I was thankful. I had a similar feeling that the club scene was impressive, but it was impressive because I was glad I was not there, because I would be horrible in that scenario.
He said that in the movie.
Watching those 2 people dance, I was like, there's no way I'm making it out of here alive. I'm going to say something. I'm going to look at somebody the wrong way, or they're going to ask me to dance, and I'm going to go, hey, look at this with my thumbs. And that's all it's going to be. And it's going to be bad news. I'm not a dancer. I have 2 moves, and one of them involved seeing if I can get the rest of the crowd to jump along with me.
Oh God.
Gonna make you jump.
Really glad I wasn't there, but it was impressive. I will say that.
It was a good scene.
Awesome.
Awesome. Vanessa was overly mad at him about that shit. That's the only part I didn't like.
I mean,
dramatically upset.
Look, I'll say this. You're having a good time with your friends. Maybe you've had a few adult beverages, and then you go out. You've pre-gamed at your abuelas. Then you go out, and you maybe have shots. Like they've detailed they've had shots.
That's the last place I want to go, by the way. Like the last place I want to go when I'm shit-faced is back to my grandmother's house.
Abuela knew how to turn up. She was like, here's the thing about Abuela. I feel like me, Marcus. This is me.
Do it.
If Abuela died in the next room and I'm drunk, plastered,
dear.
And I went in, I wouldn't have checked for a pulse. I would have just tucked her in neatly and assumed she was asleep.
That's
because
fair.
She was in such a comfortable position.
Okay.
And I was going to be like, okay, well, I'm just going to tuck you in, Grammy. And like, that's it. And she's dead. I just tucked in a dead woman. I don't know how that goes. I just thought that whole scene was interesting.
The only way I'm making it into that club is if a good pal of mine, Tito, finds a way out of myself and I put on my alter ego. That's the only way. And then it's not Doug going into that club. It's Tito Fuentes going into that club. Anyway, gentlemen, before we close this out, quick round table.
Are we going to get canceled?
Do you probably and you started us off with your whole box nonsense. So real quick, rundown. Do you recommend this movie? Just real quick, Brian.
Yes, watch this movie. You'll feel good.
Okay, awesome. Marcus,
go watch it in the theater. Yeah, I recommend it.
That's fair. Yeah, that's also fair. I would also recommend it. I don't think it's bad. I almost think maybe if you're really into musicals at home or in the theater, if you're not into musicals, but you just want a feel-good movie, go to the theater. You can focus a little bit better without the distraction of like your cell phone, the dogs, and hey, what's that outside?
The songs are good. The music is good. It's a lot. Sure. It's a great, if you've seen the theater adaptation and you're just into shit like this, you're gonna love it. I think that's the base of it. Like, I don't want to call it shit. Sorry,
into shit like this.
No.
Like people who listen to musicals, like, that's me. That's
because,
me.
I do believe that we all have our genre or our thing, and people will look at something and be like, "That's my shit." Like musicals are my 100%. Shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, some people seen this and did not second guess and did not hesitate. They knew what In the Heights was. They were gonna go see it. Like, it didn't matter. Like, good, bad, or whatever, they wanted to see it and it didn't matter. So like, if this is your thing, you love musicals, you love theater plays and adaptions and stuff like that, absolutely go see it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're an action person and like this is not typically your thing, you want someone to blow the fuck up, this is not the movie for you. Like, you know what I mean? And that's okay. Like, it's just not the thing for you.
Yep, for sure. Well, you can catch us in theaters or on HBO Max. Definitely heard it from us. Check it out.
Yes.
Gentlemen, in the time that we have remaining, what do you all have left to plug? Marcus, we tried to represent the mantra, so why don't you kick us off on what you have to plug this week?
All right, so I'm gonna tell you what I've been watching. I've been watching a lot of shit lately. Okay, y'all. So I watched Sweet Tooth, binge watched Sweet Tooth the first season. I watched The Conjuring. I watched The Quiet Place 2. I watched In the Heights. I've watched a lot of stuff. So catch up, y'all. I know stuff is back open, but catch up. There's some good stuff on the streaming services. You know what I mean? Find something you like and watch some TV. As far as the mantra is concerned, make sure you go to Instagram. Okay, put in _ the mantra. Okay, follow the mantra. You see what we did there? You want to follow the mantra, and the mantra is what? Never offended, always humble. You know what I mean? We got some merch on the way. Have a meeting Thursday to confirm some things. It's gonna be dope. Music is on the way. We are expanding the brand, and we are very excited to present the brand to you. And we would love for you to welcome the brand inside your home. The Noah merch is good for all occasions. We got somebody in the gym this morning sweating up the Noah merch. That's exactly what it's for, y'all. It's your go-to reliable gear. It's not meant to be your Gucci. You only wear it for special occasions. You wear the mantra wherever it is you go, and that's what we're for. Follow us and follow me on my socials at Marcus J. Destin. I do nice stuff up there.
You absolutely do.
He really
Brian,
does.
what do you have to plug this week?
Hey folks, so of course thelovenerds.com, of course. But my main focus, so movies move you, right? And Sunny Story moved me, even if it was not told the way we thought it would be. So I'm here to promote immigrantdefenseproject.org, and they help people that are just like Sunny in the movie, who want to go to college, that want to stay here in the United States, who were brought here under a variety of circumstances. The Immigrant Defense Project, they are the people that are fighting to make sure that these immigrants can make sure that they are staying here in the United States, that they can be successful, and they can get that little dream too. So I just wanted to take my time and promote that. You can check their website out. If donating is your thing, you can do that as well, or just learn more about it.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Brian. That's fantastic.
Really beautiful, Brian.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Beautiful.
The last thing that I have to plug is this podcast. So continue to follow us wherever you get your social medias, at filmsinb_w on Twitter, at Films in Black and White on Instagram, and at Films in Black and White on Facebook. We've got some exciting stuff coming up this summer. 9 is coming, and we are going to dive into that, as well as we're going to dive into some other things as well.
Yeah, where are you in your journey with Fast and Furious, huh? How about you?
Where am I at with my
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I have left those cars right where I parked them right after movie number 2. So I got some work to do before we're going to get into that. I think Marcus and I said that if I'm going to watch them over the weekend, I'm going to have to conservatively watch 3 a weekend from now until when 9 comes out, or otherwise I'm going to be in trouble.
That kind of makes me want to throw up.
It also makes me want to throw up, and I'm not excited about it. But I made a promise to our listeners, and I'm glad Marcus held me accountable. And that's where we got it. So follow us wherever you get it. Got some exciting things coming.
I mean,
again, sign up for the Patreon, patreon.com/films in black and white, because we have some that is really just popping exactly where we need it to. But gentlemen, that brings us to our 3-step process to success. Brian, kick us off with step number 1.
Hey folks, I already talked about it earlier in the podcast, but read a book. Just any book. It's summer, you have the time. Read a book. I usually have something quippy, but honestly, if you've been listening, you know how passionately I feel about books. There's words in them. You can make the pictures in your head. No one else can tell you what the pictures look like in your head. So if you want to make pictures in your head, read a book.
Awesome. Fantastic, Brian. Thank you for that. I'm going to cover step number 2, which is drink some water. Y'all, it is hot outside. There is no reason why you need to not enjoy the beautiful weather by getting a headache or feeling dehydrated or run down or gross. Just drink some water. Keep yourself hydrated. We all want to get, we all want to get beach ready. Got to get beach ready. Hear that all the time. Just drink some water. Kind of helps. So just there you go. Do that. Drink water. Marcus, bring us home.
Listen, Yeah, let's talk about beach ready and reading books. Can't read a book if your ass stink. Okay,
True.
you can't go to a beach. You know what I mean? You can't. Who do you look like going to somebody's beach with your ass smelling funky?
That's
and then
true.
you stinking up the sand, and now the brown sand is browner, and like you know what I mean? Like you have to get that under control. And nobody's gonna go down on you like Batman if your ass stink. Okay, nobody's gonna beat up that box like UPS like Batman if your ass stink. So the third step is wash your ass. Wash your ass. That's it. That's all you gotta do. Just wash your ass so Batman can satisfy your needs and desires.
Yep, do that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for another episode of Filmed in Black and White. We will be back next week. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, and we will catch y'all next week.
And in the between time,